Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 24 of Two Amazon Sellers and a Microphone. Today, Chris and I have a very special guest, Megan Stanczak from Stanczak Retail Consulting. Megan, how's it going?
Hi, good. So happy to be here.
Yeah, well, thank you for joining us. We have tons of questions, and I know that you've got a wealth of knowledge, so this will be really insightful for all of our listeners out there. Before we dive in, do you just want to give us a little brief background on you, how you got started in the Amazon space and what you're up to now?
Sure. So I guess it was 2010, I started working with a small family-owned e-commerce business in the sporting goods world. And, we were selling exclusively online at that point, but through our website, not through any third-party channels. I guess it was like 2012, 2013, Google changed their algorithm and we lost like 50% of our sales overnight really fast. So the owners and I had to figure out a way how to get some of that sales back and quickly. So Amazon obviously became the topic of conversation. We did a lot of analysis, like, should we go on Amazon? Is it right for our business? And at the end of the day, it was like, we have to figure out how to pick up traffic today, instantly, essentially. So that was the right route for our business. And it was the right move. We grew exponentially every year since.
Wow.
And, a big reason for that is Amazon. So at that company, I played a buyer and merchandise planner role. So I was really in the inventory planning, nitty gritty of things. It's kind of where I specialize in. From there, I left and I went to Anthropologie headquarters in Philadelphia at Urban Outfitters. And I was a merchandise planner there. And I realized really quickly that I missed working with small businesses. That's something that I really enjoyed. And the corporate world, it's just, everything kind of gets lost there. So I decided to leave and open up my own business to work specifically with small business brand owners to help them, figure out their challenges on Amazon.
That's cool. That has to be really fun to just be involved with. I mean, it's fun. Chris and I, we're sellers. We talk about this all the time. We love the game. We love just constantly strategizing, finding new products, ways, and all the Amazon just presents a lot of different opportunities to do different things, advertise, show work on your listings. And it's fun to work with people and see their success. It has to be.
Oh, absolutely. And just getting to know my clients on like a one-on-one personal level to help them kind of achieve their goals is just, it's fun for me. I enjoy it. I enjoy getting to know everybody. I enjoy getting to know their unique business challenges and goals and their product. I'm a buyer by nature. So that was my past career. So I love seeing new products and new things that people come up with.
Something I want to touch on there is you mentioned like you just basically started your own journey, your own business.
Yeah.
I mean, that takes a lot to do. That's a big leap of faith there. Jumping into a space like that. Touch a little bit on that. Like what was that about? How are you generating leads? Like, you're kind of just jumping in and kind of seeing what happens and see where it goes from there. So if you could touch on that, that'd be kind of interesting.
Sure. So the first company I worked with, that family-owned small business, there were 3 buyers. It was the owner's son, and myself, right? So my categories were like my mini businesses, right? From day one, and this was my job right out of college, so I hit the ground running. I was given a ton of responsibilities to really grow my businesses from the ground up. So I've done it before for 8 years, right? In a smaller setting. So I really had a good handle on how to grow a business, especially a product-based business. So I kind of just took my learnings from the product-based side of things over to a service-based side of things. So nice. I treat my services like they're a product, essentially. I do a lot of work on Instagram. Obviously, I get leads from there. I get leads from, originally I started getting leads from Upwork, but now it's a lot of word of mouth and through Instagram.
Yeah, I was looking at your website and all of the testimonials, and I think it's safe to say that your clients like the work that you're doing.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, so it's definitely rewarding work. And like I said, I really enjoy that one relationship. So I'm really lucky to be able to figure out how to do that and make a living.
Mm-hmm. So let's go ahead and talk about now Amazon and like when sellers come to you or brands come to you, what are some common mistakes right now that you're seeing Amazon sellers making?
Yeah, so a big one that I see are images, right? So I'm pretty clear in my service offerings. I do on-page product optimization as one of my services, as well as trainings. I'm really heavy in the training space. But what I see is they come to me and they have like one or two images. They're pretty redundant, from one another. I think there is, especially with small businesses, there's some hesitancy to spend money on professional photography and graphic design. But if you're going to be in the e-commerce space, you have to do it, right? Customers in a store can touch a product, they can feel it, they can look at it from all different angles, they can look at the packaging if there's packaging to learn more about the product. Online, they're really, really reliant on the images. Especially since most customers on Amazon aren't on a product page for very long, right? Mm-hmm. So they're probably not going to read the copy. They're not going to read the bullet points, the product description. They're going to look at the images to tell them why they should buy the product. So that's one thing that I notice. Another big thing I notice is, keyword optimization is often overlooked. Keyword optimization obviously is super important for the Amazon search algorithm to find your product in a sea of just other sellers' products. So if you don't have the right keywords that are relevant and also, moderately to highly searched in your listing, chances are there's not going to be many people that are going to be actually able to find your product when they're searching for a product like yours on Amazon.
Mm-hmm. It's so interesting because what Chris and we talk to clients, we do demos of Sellozo all day long.
Yeah.
And if we're talking to someone and they're looking to start advertising and their listing is not good, so we stop them right there. You're going to throw money away on your ads and it's not going to convert.
Yep.
And it's so important. And you're right. People, I think for the most part, especially small businesses, whether they're just like uploading images, from what they have on their website to Amazon, they don't treat it the same.
Right.
And they're not trying to stand out or look at their competition. So just going back to images, when you get a client that, what are the steps that you take? I mean, do you have a service you use, or what do you recommend for images, and where should they go to get professional images done?
Sure. So what I usually do is we'll set up like a separate consultation. I do consultations one-on-one, and we talk about the types of images that they will need to really improve their conversion rate. So we'll talk about lifestyle images, infographics, different angles that might highlight the product in a different way. It's pretty unique based on the product. Every product kind of needs something different, and each category is a little bit different too. And then from there, I have a resource list that I give only to my clients for all sorts of different, third-party services. So I've got photographers on there, I've got graphic designers on there, I've got marketing experts, I've got accountants, who I have personally vetted or have worked with or know, who I know, can get the job done in the way that I would recommend it to be done for Amazon, right?
That's interesting. So what do you think if I've got my product and I'm looking at doing the images the way that you suggest, what do you think that I would need to invest? How much would I need to invest in my images? How much money?
honestly, photography is not super expensive. So, $500, start with $500, right? If you don't have a huge budget, start small. But, you really need to invest a little bit of money in your product images. And like I said, if you don't have a ton, start small, work your way up. So maybe this year you have 10 images taken or however many images you need taken, and maybe designed and altered a little bit for your product page. And then maybe next year or 6 months down the line, maybe have some more taken. Just constantly be updating your images. It's also important to remember that these images that you're getting taken are not just for Amazon. You can use them on your website. You can use them on social media and email marketing. You can reuse them over and over and over. So, it's an investment that is just so important.
Yeah, Chris and I were talking the other day on another podcast about, and I'll see what your take is on this, about changing the images for seasonality or for holiday themed. Is that something that you do or recommend to have?
I don't usually recommend it to my clients, just because I do work with smaller businesses. That's, that's generally a big undertaking to change it out seasonally. It also kind of depends on your product, right? So if you have a product that's going to be a really great gift item, then maybe you want to change it out seasonally. If you have a product that's not a great gift item, maybe you're selling paper towels, like probably not a good strategy for you. But it really does depend on the product, the business, their goals, and their unique challenges.
That's interesting. All right, so let's move on from images to title, bullet points, description, A+ content, etc. What's the most important of the title? And what's the most important thing for that title? Like, if I'm writing a title, how do I focus so I get the best bang for my buck out of that title?
Sure. So I always suggest, and I know there's some people don't necessarily agree with this, but I always suggest that if you have a brand, the first thing in your title needs to be your brand name, right? I think it's really important because if you have a brand and you've got a brand following, or you want to have a brand following, it's got to be at the beginning of your title. Otherwise, nobody's going to know, what this product is, or they think it's just like some generic product, right? So you got to have your title in there. You have to have, the basic description of your product, whatever the name of your product is. Then it's got to have, if you have a count or it's a specific color, or, the main describers of the product should be in your product title. Shouldn't be too long, right? Because you want to make sure that it's readable for the user. But the most important keywords should be in your title, right? So maybe the most highly searched keyword should be in your title. Or maybe the keyword that you have the best chance for ranking for that's super relevant to your product should be in your title. Because search engines are going to pick up on that.
Interesting. That's great. That's great advice. And Megan, and for everyone listening, Chris keeps getting frozen on our internet connection here. So that's why I'm driving the conversation right now. But as he unfreezes, I'll let him pop in and ask questions. But
sure.
I'm not. This isn't.
Sorry.
I didn't want anyone to think this was one Amazon seller in the microphone. Here. But Chris, you're unfrozen, so jump in. Any questions about the bullets, description, etc.?
Yeah, you made a mention of this, and it was kind of down on my end. But when people are building their title, I've heard that adding like that main phrase or main keyword that they're targeting to the front helps them more index. I don't know if there's any truth to that.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't necessarily seen a huge difference depending on where you put the keyword. I generally work with brands. So, their goals are usually a little bit different than some sellers who might just be really focused on increasing rank for a keyword. Their focus is more of the brand awareness side. So, if you are a seller who, you're not really concerned with the brand, you just really, really, really want to aggressively increase your search result for a specific keyword, maybe try putting that to the beginning of a title.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Now, I just have a question just in terms of approach. I just want to get your thoughts on this, because how do you treat somebody who comes in to you they're new, they're coming to you and they're in an ultra competitive category?
Sure.
Versus someone who's got a real niche-y, unique product that you just know it's going to be a home run. You can work your magic on it. But just in terms of what do you communicate with them up front about their category, and then once they come on, how do you approach those two differently?
Sure. So regardless of who they are, I am very realistic, right? Especially if they're in a super competitive category, right? I tell them, like, listen, you can do this. You should be doing it to see whether or not your product is viable on Amazon. Also, so customers can buy your product from whatever marketplace they choose. But it's really important to be realistic and kind of set the expectations up front with the client as to how I think they're going to perform. I also give them the stats of my past optimization work. So I give them my averages, and I tell them usually the averages or your performance will be better if you're in a less competitive but moderately to highly searched category, and your chances of performing at this rate is probably lower if you are in a really highly competitive category.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's always a tough one.
Yeah.
Like if we're talking to somebody and this, we're selling protein powder and we want really cheap advertising costs. Well, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, yeah. 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 And I also learned from my buying days, not all products are successful, right? You might think it's a really great product and it might solve all of your problems, but it doesn't mean that it's going to work for your customer or there's an audience out there that's going to want to buy your product, right? There's that 80-20 rule in retail, where 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your product. So, it's something to always keep in mind. You can do everything in your power to optimize a product page and to promote it and try to drive traffic to it. But at the end of the day, there's some products that just don't work. And it's important to understand that. And it's also important to have, a variety of products to make sure you can figure out what works and what doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. Did you have a question, Chris?
Yeah, I love how you said, like, you're completely honest with them. Like that sometimes Amazon sellers, they get in, and I'm guilty, and like you fall in love with your product. Yeah. And when you hear like a different side of it or like a different view of your product, it kind of brings you a little bit back to reality. Yeah. So I love that. That's like the first thing you do is like be brutally honest with them. Like, hey, this is not going to work. I had a guy called and he's like, I'm selling PPE products. And my first instinct, I didn't even like me to say it. I was like, oh no. And he's selling these masks and face guards. It's like, man, you missed that boat a long time ago. Like that, you can't just jump in cold like now. So it's it's good for for sellers to hear that, because they fall in love with that. I'm looking on your website here. One of the things you have here is an Amazon brand launch like service, and it has a lot of different bullet points that you offer there. One of them that caught my attention was the customized launch strategy roadmap. Now on Amazon, like launching a product, there's a lot of different moving parts here. You can do PPC, you can do the giveaways, you can do the rebates, you can get friends and family. Like there's a lot of different things going on here. What's that roadmap look like if somebody comes to you, and what's that strategy look like for launching?
Sure. So the roadmap is unique for every single client, right? It is going to talk about ways that the client will want to implement after 30 days or within the first 30 days of the product being listed on Amazon, right? That's when Amazon kind of provides a conversion rate grace period. So the more traffic you can get to those listings, the better it's going to help your organic ranking. So what I do is in the beginning of a Amazon brand launch project, we have a interview and forms in the form of like a questionnaire where we talk about the client's brand, their goals for their brand, their overall goals for their brand, not just on Amazon, right? So that's going to help me recommend marketing strategies for the client that's going to work for all of their channels, not necessarily just on Amazon, right? I know there's a lot of brands out there that don't want to promote the fact that they're on Amazon at all. They want, buyers to buy from their website. So, we kind of look at everything that they want to do and what their challenges are and what their resources are. And I provide them a plan as to how to move forward. And I also provide them that resource list so they can pick and choose with professionals if they need to.
It was interesting because you said this earlier, and it caught my attention when you were talking about you recommend getting your products on Amazon regardless because you could be missing out on your buyers who are looking for you there. If I'm buying your product and I'm a Prime member, I don't want to buy it from your website.
Totally.
From Amazon. And so it's interesting because I think a lot of people miss out on that point is if you don't even have to worry about trying to rank on Amazon, just get your stuff there, have some inventory there so that when your shoppers are looking there, you're not missing out on that opportunity. And I can see that, being like you just mentioned, that being a part of your roadmap, depending on their goals. For your typical client, what do you see as like the balance of their business between what they do on Amazon versus everywhere else? Is Amazon typically the largest piece of the pie for most of your clients, or is it, how's that look?
So it totally depends. It's so unique depending on the brand, right? Some brands have a really, really strong following and they just want to be listed on Amazon and make sure that they're doing it the right way. I have a lot of clients who are confused by Amazon and by Seller Central. So they just literally don't know how to add product and they need help with that. So it varies.
Yeah, it is interesting. Chris, you have a question?
Yeah, you started something recently that I kind of touched on this and it caught my attention on Instagram. And for those out there, Megan is very active on Instagram, gives a lot of good tips, awesome content. So definitely make sure to follow her. But you started doing something where you're doing like free webinars every week or so about selling on Amazon and how to grow your sales on Amazon. How'd you come up with that idea? First of all, and what's the whole purpose behind that?
Yeah. So I actually, we've been talking a lot about the product or the service-based projects that I offer. But what my real passion is teaching people how to do it themselves. Because like I said, a lot of these small businesses don't have a ton of startup resources. So learning how to implement the strategies that I use themselves, I think is really important. So I offer a 8-week-long one-on-one training program where we cover everything from adding product to optimizing it to how to manage your account in a sustainable way. And, we talk about FBA, fulfillment, all of that good stuff. And that's an expensive service. So I figured, Q4 during a pandemic is a good time to help people out at an affordable rate. We break up my 8-week one-on-one training program into 8 Fridays where we talk about a different topic each week. And I give the attendees homework and I follow up on to see if they've done the homework to kind of implement what they've learned. How many of us have been on webinars before where we just like completely zone out, don't even watch, and then like don't use what we've learned or actively use what we've learned, right? So this is just an affordable way for sellers, new sellers who want to get their product pages ready, get their Amazon business ready in time for this holiday.
That's really cool that you're doing that. And I think for people that are not in the Amazon space or just getting into the Amazon space, there's so much more to it than you would ever imagine.
Yeah.
And you could, you could bootstrap it. You could just try to learn. I tried that. And you start focusing on one thing, and then you're missing out on like the 90 other things you should be doing. And just right off the bat, to deal with someone who's done it, who knows the steps, who's an expert, it can just really streamline things for you and make sure you're covering all your bases.
Totally.
I think it's a fantastic service you're offering.
Thank you.
It can that's really beneficial for sellers. Because I did that. I mean, I followed basically an expert that walked me through a lot of steps after just swimming around in there for months, ripping my hair out because there's so much to it.
Yeah. And I can tell you, I did the trial and error thing for over 6 years to figure out what works and what doesn't work. So if you want to take 6 years, go ahead, be my guest. Right. But I break it down in 8 weeks. So, it's a small investment to learn how to do it the right way, to make sure your account's not going to be shut down, to make sure you're following Amazon terms of service. It's a no-brainer in my opinion, because I've been through the messiness of it in my own experience in the past.
Mm-hmm. Chris, did you have a question? Thought I saw you.
Something came up. I wanted to kind of hear like one of a good story, like a good testimony, like a brand that came to you. Maybe it was when you first started. It came to you, weren't really familiar on what's going on, and you don't have to name the brand, but they came to you and like, I don't know what's going on, and now they're just taking off.
Sure.
Any kind of like feel good story like that?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I had one brand. They're local. I'm not going to name them, but they manufacture paper goods, paper products, but for like janitorial services. So in bulk for, professionals, right? It's not your household paper towels. It's heavy duty paper towels. Their goal was to do like $10,000 in sales a month. They were just incredibly overwhelmed by Seller Central and how to use it. And, I've worked with them. We've done a mix of kind of all my services with them, right? We've done a lot of consulting to train them on how to do some things on their end, but I've also helped implemented optimization for them. And, they've had months where they're $50,000 months.
Wow.
So yeah, they're doing really great.
So you're saying that their investment in you paid off?
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, it's nice to have somebody like in your corner. It's nice to have somebody in your corner. Like if you can come to somebody with an idea, or, hey, I have this issue with Seller Central. Because Seller Central is confusing. There's so much stuff going on in Seller Central. And Amazon's rolling out new features all the time.
Oh, it's always changing.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And also and Chris and I talk about this a lot as well, is this can be a lonely business sometimes. Selling on Amazon, whether you're a small family, small brand, or an individual doing it. A typical company has a marketing department and an advertising department, and the whole product development department. And when you're an Amazon seller, you wear all those hats.
Oh yeah. And
it can be tricky. So to have someone in your corner, like Chris said, or someone to bounce ideas off, help you with strategies that they've implemented elsewhere. That's why Chris and I do this podcast, just so we can talk to other people in this space, learn from them. So yeah, I can see that being absolutely invaluable for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I have, like I said, I offer, one-on-one hourly consultations that people can just book online whenever they need to. So, a lot of times I'll have some of my clients call and they'll just say like, hey, like, listen, sales have wildly dropped recently and I don't know what's going on and I need help. I need a second pair of eyes to look at my listing and see what's going on. So, sometimes it's seasonality, right? And if it's a seller that's in their first year of business, they don't have last year's sales to work off of, right? And you guys know sales fluctuations on Amazon can be crazy. that's when, self-doubt kind of creeps in. Like, am I doing this right? What's going on? So, I make sure that my calendar is accessible so that people can book consultations with me so we can work out any issues that they're having in their account.
That's interesting. All right, let's do real quick. How about just a few rapid fire questions for you?
Okay.
Get back into just a space. Let's go do a couple of these. Most important thing for bullet points.
Oh, so the beginning of the bullet points, I like to capitalize like made description phrases or keyword phrases so that the reader can quickly scan.
Thank you. How about most important thing for your advertising campaigns?
Most important things for setting them up correctly, right? I've seen all sorts of accounts come to me with just really messy campaigns that don't make any sense, right? So there's a methodology to setting up campaigns, guys, that, you want to make sure they're set up by a professional if you do not have experience with pay-per-click advertising specifically on Amazon.
Chris, did you have one?
Yeah, I was going to say short titles or keyword stuff titles.
Did you hear his question? He may have froze up again.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. What's going on?
That's all right. He asked short titles or keyword stuff titles.
Short titles short titles. Absolutely, yeah. Short titles. Yeah, no keyword stuffing, guys. Don't keyword stuff ever.
What about?
That's a big mistake. Don't do that.
Yeah.
What about what's the best type of pay-per-click advertising? Sponsored brand, sponsored product, or display?
Sponsored product, right? So if you're starting out, start out with sponsored product. Sponsored brands and display especially display, are so much more expensive. You're probably not going to see your return. You want to start off with sponsored products, figure out what keywords are working, and then use those, once it's time to grow your pay-per-click, use those keywords in your, or ASINs in your sponsored brand and your sponsored display.
How about sponsored brand video ads? How effective are those?
Oh, I mean, video, anything that's just going to ramp up your conversion rate. So if there's a video that you can do it. Make sure the video works for whatever you're using it for, right? So in the ad, you might want to just make a simple video showing the customer how to use the product, right? Because the customer's only be glancing at that ad. If it's on the product page, maybe have it a little bit longer, but video, definitely.
We got a question here on YouTube. How do I unblock my Amazon account? Any suggestions there?
So that's when I kindly refer you to a consulting professional who works with suspended or suspended listings accounts. But that is not the area I specialize in. I don't want to specialize in. I work on preventative steps, but I would then refer you to actually specifically. I've had a lot of success with Riverbend Consulting. They're based out of New Jersey. Reach out to those guys. They'll help you.
It's a good question.
There you go, Dario.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about some things that can get accounts in trouble and what your recommendations are there. How about follow-up email sequences? What's your take there?
That's a tricky one. It's tough. I always say if you're going to do it, one email, and they've just changed those guidelines too. So you're not supposed to reach out to buyers unsolicited, right?
Right.
I don't know if you guys have seen anything differently, but I've seen asking for a review, as long as it's within Amazon's rules, is still okay. But anything else, like, how is your order? Please let us know if you have any questions. That's not okay. Amazon doesn't want you bothering the customers unless they have a question that they want to ask you specifically, right?
That's right. What about that request a review button on the orders page now?
That's a good option. I know Helium 10 offers a tool. I forget what it's called off the top of my head, where you can do that automatically. But that's, anything in terms of reviews, any service or program that Amazon offers you, go with that, right? Don't do any crazy like third party, asking for reviews under the table. Anything that Amazon gives you to ask for reviews, it means it's according to their rules. So use it.
All right, few more rapid fire questions here.
Sure.
Okay, if you're still good for it.
Yeah.
A+ content. How important is it?
It's important if you are obviously a brand owner. You need a trademark to have A+ content. In terms of keyword optimization, I don't know how helpful it is. It can also, help your conversion rate if, you do it correctly, right? I've seen some pretty messy A+ content pages. You want to make sure you're selling the product and selling it in a way that, or highlighting the product in a way that is helpful. If you're a brand and you want to get your brand awareness across, it's I think it's a pretty important thing to have on your product page. It just levels up your product page.
Yeah, we had somebody on a few weeks ago who said bad A+ content is worse than no A+ content. So if you do it, which is very helpful, it showcases your brand. So you definitely want to have that going.
Oh yeah.
All right. Last rapid fire one.
Sure.
What are your suggestions right now going into the holiday season? If a brand or a seller should do one thing right now to better prepare themselves, what is that?
Make sure your inventory is in stock with FBA like yesterday. Right? Make sure your best sellers are in stock and you have enough quantity to last you through the peak shopping window. With COVID, everything that's going on, receiving in Amazon warehouses has been slow. So, the earlier you can get product there, the better. Make sure you have your best-selling product in stock. And the stuff that's not moving, especially become like Cyber Monday, consider that excess inventory. If it's not moving as of Cyber Monday, mark it down, get it out.
Speaking of inventory, do you have any suggestions or tips for people? I mean, let's say I've got a product and Amazon is restricting me to only be able to send in 1,000 units, and it's taking them 3 weeks to check that in.
Yep.
And I can sell 1,000 units in a month.
Yep.
How are you strategizing or planning, or because you're going to be out of stock?
Yes, it's so tough because you're really at the mercy of Amazon, especially this year with the new maximum quantity that they're capping on every item for FBA. Use fulfillment by merchant as a relief valve, right? So if you run out of stock, make sure you're set up to fulfill those orders according to your handling time. To avoid any missed sales. Obviously, your sales volume on FBA is going to be higher, but you just want to make sure that you're not selling out of product completely, because that's going to hurt your bestseller ranking. So even if you're not having as many sales through FBM, it's better than having no sales. So use FBM as a relief valve. In terms of restock, look at, I would say every day, if not every other day, what your restock suggestions are. And restock more frequently. Don't wait to restock once a month. Restock once a week in off-peak times. Restock multiple times a week during peak times. Just take that lead time into account so that you're not stuck with a lot of inventory at the end of the season that you can't reasonably move within the next 90 days or the first 90 days of 2021.
Those are great tips on that. Absolutely. Chris, do you have any additional questions? Oh,
I'm good.
Oh.
I'm good.
Well, okay, Megan. So, how can people get in touch with you?
Sure.
How can they, sign up for your services or your training? tell everyone out there how they can reach out to you.
Sure. So they can book a consultation with me at my website. It's www.stanczak.retailconsulting.com/scheduling. I'll type that in the chat here so everybody has it. And then there's also, if you follow me on Instagram, it's at stanczak.retail.consulting. I know it's a mouthful. If you follow me on Instagram, the link in my bio, you can also that will take you to my scheduling link. It will also take you to my Friday morning trainings for Q4. So those live trainings that we talked about earlier. And you can also subscribe to my email newsletter. I do write a blog. So anytime there's a new blog, any new updates, any tidbits that I come across, I blast that out to my email list. I don't send a ton of emails, which is nice if you're like me and constantly unsubscribing. But those are the main ways to get in touch with me.
Excellent. Well, we encourage everyone out there to do that. Follow Megan on social, take one of her classes, take her up on her consulting. You won't be sorry. It's so important if you're getting started to use every resource out there. And Megan, you're a great resource. We learned a ton. That was a lot of information. We thank you so much for coming on today.
Of course. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone, have a great day, and we'll be